Hey, it's Megan.
And Sue in the restricted section.
And today, I forgot the beer bottle. Hey, it's Megan.
And Sue in the restricted section.
And today we are doing a Tome Infinity and Beyond / September wrap-up.
Yes. I epically failed Tome Infinity and Beyond. Like, Megan did alright. I failed miserably.
Neither of us had strong reading months in September.
No. I mean, I will say that I'm still proud of myself because I got through 2 really difficult books.
You should be proud of yourself.
Difficult as in I just struggled to get through them because I hated them.
Yeah.
But I only read 4 books.
And I read 5 books in September.
So while we are talking about our books we read, why can't I fucking talk? I feel like it's been so long since we filmed.
I know.
Which it's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but it feels like it's been forever.
It feels like forever. We're drinking a beer that we got while we were visiting our dear friends
Sam and Amber
in Milwaukee. And this is the Luna Coffee Stout from Hinterland Brewing.
Nice and dark.
Which I think is in Milwaukee, right? Or in Wisconsin at least. Green Bay, Wisconsin. So we're gonna try out this coffee stout.
Cheers.
It's good.
It's good stuff.
I haven't had a stout in a long time, I feel.
Really? Well, it's
not really, because it's been hot. Yeah, it's still hot here. It's like 80 degrees out.
Don't let my sweater fool you. I'm dressing for the season I want.
I've been doing that too.
So the first book I finished in September was The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. It is a celebrity memoir. I read it on my Kindle, but it was really funny. It was kind of fucked up. Like, she's had a really crazy life. I liked it. It wasn't a celebrity memoir that I loved or anything. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I liked it.
Alright, the first book that I finished was The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. I buddy read this with Amber from Amber Unabridged. We'll link her channel below, so go check her out. But this book, it's a classic, an American classic. It was rough, man. It was rough. We both pretty much hated this. He's very verbose. This book probably could have been like 150 pages long for the amount of like actual stuff that happened. It was rough. The only reason I gave it 2 stars as opposed to 1 is because there was a really awesome like an anti-racism rant basically, which was very like, he was far ahead of his time there. He had very progressive views, I think, because this was published in like 1860s, or first published in 1826.
1826?
1826. And there's a character in here who goes on a rant about how, like, racism is dumb and slavery is bad and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Pretty awesome. And his views, like, the way Native Americans are depicted in it are, like, iffy, I would say. Like, there's good things and there's bad things. This book was, it was a challenge to finish because it was just so verbose.
So next I finished A Passage in Black and Other Stories by Cullen Bunn. This is a collection of short horror stories. Cullen Bunn writes a couple of comics that I'm pretty into, and so I figured I'd give this a go. And it was really good. There were some stories that were like fucking ridiculous, but at the end of each story he has like a little explanation of like why he wrote it. And some of them were intentionally ridiculous. Like one of them he wrote for a contest that was like, write the worst horror story ever. So, and that's in here, but there was one story in here that freaked me the fuck out. Like I had to stop reading and watch something innocuous on TV because it freaked me out.
I'm excited to read that. I bought it as well.
I think he signed it for me. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, mine's also signed.
Which is exciting.
He was at LibraryCon.
And he seemed very nice.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. This is the one and only book that I finished for Tome Infinity and Beyond. And it was The Geek Feminist Revolution by Cameron Hurley, which isn't even technically a sci-fi book. It's by a sci-fi writer and it talks a lot about sci-fi, but it's a nonfiction a collection of essays that she wrote kind of about the hurdles she's had to overcome to be a successful female sci-fi author, since sci-fi is generally a male-dominated genre.
Kind of a dude's club.
And also she talks about other aspects of her life as well. But I really enjoyed it. I did like the parts about, specifically about like her writing and the world of sci-fi the best. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I gave it 4 stars.
Nice. I forgot to mention, A Passage in Black was a book that I read for Tome Infinity and Beyond. It was my collection of short stories. So the next book I read was also for Tome Infinity and Beyond, and that was The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley, who wrote The Geek Feminist Revolution. I'd never read her fiction, but...
I haven't read her fiction yet either, but I want to.
I really loved this. Like, I ended up giving it 5 stars, but it's all, there are no men in this book. Like,
Sounds
it's
great.
all, exactly. I was like, a sci-fi novel without dudes in it. I'm about that life.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. But yeah, like, it was really good. It was weird because, like, the planets that they lived on were, like, alive, and so some of the depictions of things were, like, kind of grody, because they traveled through, like, kind of these umbilical cord type things, like tunnels.
Kind of makes me think of the Xenogenesis series, how the ship is like
living,
like a living thing, sort of.
Yeah, it was like that, but grosser. But it was really good, and I liked the characters. I think they were all like believable, you know. Like, I think that they were all unique and well developed. But yeah, I loved it. That was great.
The next book I finished, I actually did read during Tome Infinity and Beyond, but it could count for one of the challenges, but I would have had to skip a challenge, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, kind of go
on
out of
my
order.
map, because it could count for a book with circles on the cover because of the O's in Motorcycle Maintenance and in Robert.
Yes.
But I read Zen, The Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig, which I read this to complete a Read Harder challenge of reading a book, an assigned book that I hated or didn't finish, and I both hated and didn't finish this in high school when I was supposed to read it for my philosophy class, and I have now finished it, and I still hated it. It has an interesting concept, because it's about a man who is on this like cross-country motorcycle trip with his son, and he has at some point in his life undergone electroshock therapy, and so he's kind of rediscovering who he was before that happened. So it sounds interesting, but that's kind of a very small part of the book. Most of it is him going on and on and on about quality, and you're like,
bitch, shut up.
yeah. And I feel like it read like a man who thinks he's a lot smarter than everyone else, but actually doesn't say anything that's really that profound.
It's just things that he thinks are profound.
And I mean, I get enough of that on BookTube, so.
Hashtag real talk.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Come for us. Just kidding. Don't come
This
for us.
is why men don't watch us.
Sorry, dudes.
But, is that your washer beeping? Okay, I thought it was your camera at first. I pretty much hated this. I mean, again, I haven't given a book 1 star this whole year, and I gave this 2 stars as well, because I did, like I said, think the concept was interesting, and also I actually enjoyed his afterword, which was added, like it was written later and was added. This is like the 20th anniversary edition, I think. But he came off much more likable in the afterward, because it is it's a fiction book, but it is, you know, autobiographical. So the author actually did have electroshock therapy, I believe, and also did go on a motorcycle trip with his son. There's even a picture of them together in the back, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I just felt like it was a whole lot of nothing.
So next I finished The Grapes of Wrath, which was not for Tome Infinity and Beyond, but was for a Read Harder challenge.
The same one, right?
Yeah, the same challenge actually, because I finished it in high school, but I hated it. and I still hate it. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars because I understand why it's important, I guess. It's an important tale of a period in American history or what the fuck ever. But I did not enjoy the way that Steinbeck did it. I didn't like the in between chapters where it was basically just like rambling about something related to that time period. Like there's an entire chapter of this like used car salesman just talking about how much he likes to sell jalopies. And like I get that they're trying to set the scene, you know, or that Steinbeck's trying to set the scene, but I fucking get it, man. Like I fucking took American history, bitch. Like just shit. Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, I didn't like it. I'm gonna give Steinbeck another try though. I'm gonna read something else by Steinbeck. Yeah. But Grapes of Wrath was a big stinker for me.
I also didn't mention that actually every book I've mentioned has counted for a Read Harder challenge.
Oh, nice.
Because Last of the Mohicans was a book of post-colonial literature. This was a collection of essays, which is a challenge, and then this was the assigned book I hated or didn't finish. So
nice.
I knocked out 3 Read Harder challenges this month. Boom, I only have 1 left.
Boom.
Boom. But the last book I read was one that I read part of it during Tome Infinity and Beyond. It was one of my books for that readathon, but I didn't finish it until after the readathon. But it was Radiance by Catherine M. Valente, which is it's a strange book. It's a little hard to describe because it's like an old Hollywood setting, but it's also set throughout the solar system. So a lot of it takes place on the moon, also on Venus and Neptune and etc. They go to almost every planet, I think. And it's about this woman who she makes documentaries, but she's also the daughter of a very famous filmmaker. And she's making this documentary about this city that has disappeared on Venus, and there's other cities like this in the solar system. But while making that documentary, she disappears and is presumed dead. And so you're trying to figure out what happened to her, and also like learning about her life through like her father's movies. So it's kind of complicated, but really, yeah, but really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I really liked Catherine M. Valente's writing a lot, so I definitely want to read more by her, but I really liked this, and I ended up giving it, I think I gave it 4 stars. So glad I read it. Because it's been on my shelf for a while, and it was one that I was just like not super compelled to pick up, because I think I knew that it was kind of like convoluted, and I was like, I don't know if I can deal with that. But I'm glad I finally did, because I really liked it.
And the last book I finished in September was for Tome Infinity Beyond, but I didn't finish it until after that was over, and that was Old Man's War by John Scalzi.
I think that's how you say it.
But I read this for my space opera. But yeah, it's about this old man who joins the army. It's like intergalactic army, and he goes off to fight battles in space. And I loved it. It was really good. Like I gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice. I really want to read that one. I've heard everyone say it's good, so
I really loved it.
Check it out. All right, so that's it, right?
That's it, man.
That's everything we read in September. Let us know how your reading month was. Did you do better than us? September's a busy month.
September's a busy ass month.
Everything happens in September.
It does.
Why?
Why though?
Why? Yeah, and this beer, it's pretty good. It's kind of bitter, like
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
A little more bitter than stouts tend to be. I don't know.
It seems a little,
but it's good.
More bitter, but yeah, it's pretty good. That's all I got to say about that. So there'll be some links down below where you can find us other places on the internet.
And if you haven't subscribed yet,
you should do it.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.